Live streaming is on.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Give Token Sprint number 6 kickoff. So I don't think we have a Give Token Sprint number 6 doc ready yet. Maybe we can go ahead and create one. We'll build off the Sprint number 5 doc. At a pre-planning, we kind of turned our celebration meeting on Monday into a pre-planning session. So this is where we landed. Here are the notes. So for sprint number 6, of course, we want to roll over the unfinished business, and that includes closing the airdrop list, which we were hacking on last night. We can give an update on that. Liquidity mining, investing contract work, continuing to work through that, and I think we have a good update there that we can share. Givebacks, moving that ball forward and getting that ready for development, doing it, or potentially even starting development, but if not, at least getting it ready for development, knocking out all the blockers there so that we can start building. Then the roadmap and messaging key narratives, hiring 1 to 2 smart contract devs. So each of these goals we want to that were uncompleted, we want to roll forward into this next sprint. Additional goal that we had was on the UI UX side, getting DApp node designs really solid, which I think this one might be one that got completed. And then, yeah, basically the only goal that we had here that we added was just making sure having a goal to start working on giveback developments at the beginning of the following sprint. We thought that was a good goal. So let's just go through each of these, and then we'll get an update and make sure we're all clear on the remaining work and what the goals are for this next sprint. So, Griff, do you have any update on the liquidity mining investing contract work and what the latest is there?
Yeah, we have Jordy confirmed he can do the audit in about a week and a half. So that's good. Now we just have to get Edu. Edu has to, the blocker for DApp node is that the bridge contracts, the POA bridge contracts, they don't like the token that it kicks out on the Ethereum side. It's like an old version of it. It's using 4.24 Solidity, which is like we're on Solidity 8 now. And so they're focusing on more of the like foundational level for their Ethereum token, which is needed for their liquidity mining program and therefore also needed for our liquidity mining program as well. Because we're going to copy what they do, so we need to copy also their token on mainnet. So yeah, we are working with POA network to get that updated, and that's kind of the blocker on the liquidity mining. That being said, we're going to try to get that. We are working directly with POA network. They had a call with them this morning already. I didn't hear how it went, but they're like really excited to have us be upgrading their contracts for them, and they're going through their own audits right now. So it should all fly really well. But that is the current slowdown. And then that being said, that should get confirmed this week that they're down to upgrade to Solidity that was made in the last 2 years, and and when that's solid, then we already started working on conforming the Solidity contracts to be like to have good English and that sort of thing this weekend. And there's just a few more contracts that will need that kind of updating, but the audits should start in a week and a half. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all the update.
So estimating audits to be complete in a week and a half. Is that what I heard?
Audits to start in a week and a half, and yeah, then they'll finish. It's going to just be 2 days of audits probably, but then those audits usually suggest changes. So let's say smart contracts done in 3 weeks. And then with the smart contracts done and the front end looks great. The front end is pretty much done. It just needs to be connected to the smart contracts. And then we'll do probably at least 1 week of QA, which I hope everyone in this on this team will go play with the new version, kind of like we did with Carbon tokens. But this time it'll be much better. Yeah, and then we'll do some QA. We'll make issues and all that. So then there'll be another 2 weeks, and then they'll launch.
And did you say that would be the sprint cycle, or do we need to wait for the contracts to be done before we can start?
Yeah, and the contracts need to be done. So it'll be 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, we'll have the front end connected to smart contracts, is my guess, because that doesn't take too long. It's all set. It's just the final names of the functions and it just needs to be wired up, which will take a day, and then we'll have at least a week of just quality assurance, and then a week of fixes from that QA, and then we should be able to launch.
Awesome. And do we want to carry forward this, since the UI UX is done, we had a goal to add, and this might already be in progress, but we had a goal to add a wireframe for the give back panel. I think we want to continue, maybe if that's not done, that's probably, do you think that'd be a good goal for this sprint?
Yeah, we could start playing with that. Let me see. Let me double check. I mean, it's basic. The designs for sure are done. Let me just see. I'll ask Lancy.
Okay, cool. All right. While you're looking for that, I can give an update on the airdrop list. Griff, Bone, and I met up last night to hack on this, and we finished the list of past contributors. So everyone who's contributed to Giveth development and progress since the creation, as well as every user of Giveth. So those two airdrop lists were completed. The final missing airdrop list is the current Giveth contributors, which I know is in progress. And then we need to basically take all the different airdrop recipients and get them into one big master spreadsheet with all their token airdrops totaled. So one row for each address with the total amount of Give tokens that they'll be airdropped. And this is because you could have donated to Giveth, you could have been a user of Giveth, you could have contributed to Giveth. So there's quite a few people that are on multiple, that qualify for the airdrop in multiple categories. So those are kind of the remaining steps, is to get the current Giveth contributor token allocations completed. Danny's been doing a great work with this and tracking everyone's source cred and praise so that we can try and make this a fair allocation. And then after that, then we just need to combine that list with all the other lists, and we will finally be ready with the airdrop list. So complete. Yeah. And then
yeah.
Oh yeah, and then there's one final thing as well that Bone is working on, which is just the manual adjustments.
Yeah, we're calling it edge cases is the name of the tab.
Pretty self-explanatory. Cool.
And then we got to make the combination and do a sanity check.
Cool.
Combination.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Then givebacks. So do you want to have an update on, I know you guys had a verification party, would love to hear more about how that went and what the current status of the givebacks progress is.
Well, the verification party went pretty well. We verified 3 projects and denied 2 projects. And so now we're working on acceptance and rejection emails. And Forrest and I have like a hack session here in a few hours. So we're going to go over some of that stuff and rework the form through a type form. And then hopefully we can just embed it into the application itself. So nobody has to go to like, you know, a Google form or a type form to fill it out. It'll just be right in the application when they apply for verification. And then I guess I was curious, like, are we wanting to do like 2-week blocks for verification parties? Is that the goal? So like the next one, the first one was on the 9th, so the next one we'll shoot for like the 23rd.
Yeah, I mean, for these POCs, it's whenever you guys want, for sure.
Okay.
But the final, I think it's fine to start with the 2 weeks thing and just fall into that flow.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good.
And actually, I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Like, you know, we never really talked about donation rounds, you know, and like I just kind of threw out there, oh, let's make them 2 weeks to match sprints, you know.
Yeah.
But we can make donation rounds a month. We can and then do the verification parties less often and do everything less often. We could make them a week and we can do everything more often. I don't know. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I feel like 2 weeks is a good place to start, and we can see, you know, how many projects we end up getting wanting to be verified, whether it seems to be a lot at each verification party. Maybe we should do them more often. If there's less, maybe we do them less often. I'm not sure. But I think 2 weeks is a good place to just feel it out and see how it goes and adjust from there.
Agree. It's a good place to start. And yeah, hopefully we're just getting so many projects that we decide we have to make it weekly. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, and that pattern is also like, you know, token distributions. The donation round calculation would be these 2 weeks. This would be what else? There's all these deadlines that are in that sheet that are based off of a 2 week period. So it's beyond just verification parties. Yeah, maybe we'll need 7 of them. You know, maybe so many projects want to get verified, but we'll have to always get them done within that 2 week before a 2 week deadline.
Mm-hmm. Right. What is the latest with Fabio? I know he's been working hard to get some of this stuff automated, the actual token distributions. Is there any update?
Yeah. Okay. I don't think that he worked on it this week more than what he already had. But I know he's working with, there were some missing pieces, basically some blockers for him on the Giveth 2 side, on Giveth.io, that they don't have the, I think the price oracle on XDAI wasn't working or something like that. And so I think he's just waiting for some of these things to get fixed. But he feels like it's turnkey, like it's basically done. So. But he's working with James. If James were here, he could give us the updates. And or Mateo, maybe you know, is there something that Fabio is working for?
I know that the node is working already, so we are fetching prices properly from XDAI already since 2 days ago. So if James is working with him, I guess he will know. So he knows already.
Okay, cool. I'll just check in. So he says.
Cool. Right. And then does anyone know, I'm pretty sure Marco started working on these, but does anyone have any update on the give back mockups? I haven't seen any yet. Forrest was going to follow up with him. I'll put question marks here. And we'll get some clarity on that. And hopefully they're already in progress. If not, we can hopefully run this sprint cycle.
Yeah,
right.
I see. The
Go ahead.
one Fabio says that the scripts are working, and yeah, like you said, James fixed the issue that was a blocker before. So, and all the scripts are working.
It's done. Sweet.
Mhm. I think so. I think we need to see what the printouts look like, and then it's one of these things where it's like, okay, how do we tell him in the back end which projects have been verified? And I think that's the last question mark.
So, how do we? Yeah, we need to build that, right? So, we need to implement.
I think it's pretty simple. It's just like, and Mateo, maybe you could say more, but it's like, okay, here's the project. There's a column. It says true or false, verified. You know.
Yeah, basically that. Really hard.
And then we need to choose what identifier we want to have for each project. You know, like, is there a unique ID for every project?
There is. It's like the project slug. So if you go to like any project,
When you say slug, do you mean URL?
yeah, in the URL, I think that should be unique, right? Because if I were to create another project called Building Digital Communities, I'd be building digital communities 1 or 2 or something.
Yeah, but
Don't you have project ID?
What? Yeah, I mean, what happens if I change my name from Bridging Digital Communities to Bridging All Communities?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
We should, you know,
there is an ID already, and unique that is completely separated from the URL. So yeah, that's not an issue.
So if we have an ID that will stay consistent, and for sure it'll never change, like the user can never change it somehow, then that's what we should use.
okay, cool. Is it just a project ID?
Yeah. And then we'll have a mapping. And then when we do the verification parties, ideally we would, I guess we could send a link or something, but we have to figure out how do we tell the Mateo and James, hey, these are the projects that got verified this time. And then how do they put that in their back end, and how does Fabio pull it out?
This will be part of the give back.
And I think that's very achievable this sprint. Right?
Cool.
Right, Mateo? Like, it's pretty.
Yes, totally. Right now in the coming that call, we are going to discuss what's going on in the next sprint, and I think it's there is a space for that. It's not complicated.
Cool. So, Mateo, have you guys decided which features you're going to work on? Or are you deciding that today?
That's what we're going to discuss. I'm currently working on the rich text for the project and the updates that is very requested. So far is that, but we are going to check what else is needed. And I think this goes very well.
Cool. I'm thinking too, as we build some of this, do we have a good way to build functionality before and like push code out to production without exposing it? Maybe it's something to talk about at the kickoff today, but we might want to make sure, we might have to be a little bit careful if we're building stuff that's not quite ready to release, which maybe some of the stuff is fine to go out, like the project verification stuff is probably fine. And maybe there's a way we can build this where it's okay, where we're not leaking any alpha, but something to think about in the dev kickoff.
I mean, this is something that we needed to discuss anyway, and maybe it comes up this sprint on like, what do we want to do for retroactive givebacks? Like, people have been donating since March 1st was our cutoff date, I think.
Mm-hmm.
what do we do with those people? And maybe it's only donations on Giveth.io is fine, but then still, are we going to give backs to them? Are we not? How much? These kinds of things.
Yeah, and I also noticed something yesterday, very curious, that somebody was making micro donations of like 0.001 XDAI to a single project, and I believe that Mitch commented that maybe he's farming for some airdrop or something like that. So we have to take into account that case as well, that is already happening. The guy made like 50 donations of cents to one project.
Yeah, that's not the first time either. We've been seeing a lot of that.
Yeah, the airdrop chasing is real, but for us it shouldn't matter so much because we should strive to make everybody who gets these tokens they're actually donors, so they should be losing money, right? Like if they just donated a bunch 10 cents to 50 projects, they donated $5, so they should get like $4 back or something, $3.75.
Totally. Yeah, I like the idea if we could retroactively reward givebacks, because it's not really an airdrop, right? And it's going to be, going forward, we'll be letting people know, hey, if you donate, you'll get a give back. But I think the people that donated before that, without knowing that they're going to get a give back, I don't see any reason to not give them a give back as well. I like giving them retroactively give backs. We can.
Giving is good. It's nice.
But we should do a sanity check, because I guess it'll be capped at 75%, right? So yeah, and I don't think overall that'll end up being, I think, a relatively small amount of give tokens. And I would like that, other than having those people who have, were some of the first users of Giveth and donated to projects, having them feel left out for any reason. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll even have to give that one honey that got locked on the site. They should get givebacks too.
Agreed. Cool. All right, Lauren, how's the comms article?
Oh, it's pretty good. I mean, I sent it to you to review. I mean, I just sort of did a really basic overview of how givebacks work without getting into so many complicated details, just a really top level thing. And then the last section of the article was isn't this exciting? And it's more exciting now. We're airdropping to these people so that you can be the first people to experience givebacks and all the magic it holds. So yeah, I still need to now that we've talked a little bit, I'm going to edit the airdrop section, and there's a few pieces missing, but it's pretty good. And I know that we're not going to be, I'll probably edit it again before it ever goes out. Cause I'm sure there'll be subtle changes, but yeah, that's it.
Cool. I'm excited to see it. And so is it a give back specific article, or is it the big launch article?
I think it's the launch article for givebacks.
Okay.
And the airdrop. I mean, it's kind of I'll probably change the title, but right now it's givebacks are here, and then I just talk a little bit about who gets givebacks and how projects have to get verified in order to be eligible for their donors to get givebacks, and then I'm and we're airdropping. This is these are the people that are getting the airdrops. Go try it out. We love being run by our community.
Yeah, and I think that's the real push here is the Giveth exit to the community, the airdrop. This is how we're exiting to the community, right? We want to be a donor-owned platform, donor-owned and governed platform, and we're exiting to the community. That's what the airdrop is about. So, the airdrop doesn't really help people get givebacks. It doesn't it almost has nothing to do with givebacks. It's kind of just the initial distribution, so that we could have a fair distribution to all the people who contributed to Giveth in some way. This is your platform, and now you can govern it, right? Yay. But And then to going forward, the initial distribution will be diluted by the donors who are donating every day to this platform, using it, playing with it, and helping us improve it by using it. And so now it's a donor-owned platform, and that's where the givebacks come in.
Yeah.
That's how I would sell it. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. That's kind of how I did it already as well. Like I started talking about like how, like I first focus on the donors and like how donors are going to get give backs. And then I'm like, and we want you guys to start trying it out by like curating projects. So like, here are some give back tokens to like reward our supporters, like keep donating and doing stuff.
Yeah, but that's the piece that we have to cut out now. That was the original idea, but without a good smart contract dev, there's no curation. Now the curation is centralized by us, and the same for every project, which is a fine first step, right? Like, it's a really cool first step. Like we have the token distribution, exit to the community, and then we have donors will get tokens, and then eventually we'll have token curation, hopefully.
Oh, okay. So you can't you're not going to be able to stake your tokens on projects like when we launch.
No.
Okay. So then the amount of givebacks that are awarded to like donors of each project is like proportional to like the quantity of donations to that project. It's like purely based on like the amount donated. Oh, okay, cool.
Yep. So it's like
Cool.
a yes or no, you're verified, and if you're verified, then the percentage.
Okay, I got it.
And it will be the percentage will go up or down based off of how many donations there were in that round.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
It's capped at 75% of your donation. So when you donate to a project, the maximum amount of give you can get is 75% of the value of your donation.
Mm-hmm.
Which, by the way, puts tax deductible donations to shame. Never seen 75%. Get out of here. But if all of a sudden there's a bunch of people who donate, millions of dollars on Giveth, just like fat stacks to all these great projects, then we only have so much give to give, so the percentage gets lower.
Mm-hmm. Are we going to be like minting new give tokens after the initial?
So not at first, but eventually, yes. When we actually have the give DAO, then we will start minting initial tokens.
And those tokens, right, will basically just go to the DAO, the Giveth DAO, and Giveth will be up to give token holders to basically, like, once this pool of 17 million tokens runs out, we have 17 million tokens kind of set aside on day one, 17% of the supply for givebacks. Once that runs out, or as it starts to run out, the Giveth DAO can vote basically to take more tokens from either this 33% or tokens from the newly issued, the new issuance, and allocate those towards ongoing givebacks. Or maybe they don't want to do givebacks anymore, and maybe they have a different idea. At that point, it should be entirely up to the Giveth DAO to continue.
Yeah, the issuance is super cool, by the way. Like the way OneHive is doing it is like it's a 0% issuance. It will be minting or burning based off of what percentage of the total supply is in the DAO. So if the DAO, we'll set a percentage of the total supply to be in the DAO, in the funding pool of the conviction voting DAO, right? And if we stop spending the money, and then the issuance will be like a trickle. It'll start building up, and if it starts building up, then actually the issuance will turn off and it'll start burning, and it'll be like, we always want to maintain somewhere between 25 and 30% of the total supply in the DAO, and if it starts to get above that, then it starts burning tokens, and if it gets below that because we're spending it and we're using it, then it starts to issue tokens. So the net issue will be 0, but we'll always have float to govern.
That's super cool. what rate does it do it? Like, how does it target getting back to the target in like a month or 12 months?
That's up to us. There's some variables that we get to choose. There's a really interesting blog post or forum post on OneHive, this issuance forum post that Luke wrote that explains the variables that you get to choose. It's pretty simple. I think there's like 2 main variables that control that, and it's exactly what you said, the rate and the target, and that's it. I can find a link to it too. But they just launched this. Like it's live. The vote passed, and I think, it's live like 3 days ago. And that means Celeste with the Aragon Court has Bright ID and all that disputable honeypot, disputable voting, the whole thing. It's live. They already had somebody make a proposal and take it to Celeste, mostly to test things, but still, it's happening.
That's so cool. We're on the cutting edge, and so cool. These decentralized organization tools that are getting built left and right, and these building blocks coming together. It's so cool.
Dude, this DAO has all the bells and whistles that I've always wanted. I'm so excited about it. They have delegation for the big votes, not conviction voting, but like you can delegate for your vote to someone else, and for like the big structural votes. And then, there's like a certain time period where the delegates have to vote for the proposal. Otherwise, it doesn't count and they can't do it. And then everybody who delegated, they can see how their delegate voted, and they can change it if they don't like it, right? They have time during the voting period to change it. And then there's the wait for quiet. And well, Mitch knows all of this. He wrote some posts on it. But the wait for quiet's like if the result changes in the vote, like the 50% yes or no votes, right? If the result changes near the end, then they add extra voting time at the end for people who haven't voted to be able to vote, because you can't change your vote. If you vote yes, you can't change it to no. So they add this extra time at the end just for people who haven't voted in this controversial vote to have the time to notice. Yeah, all sorts of cool stuff. Really, really excited to see this in action with OneHive, and then eventually we'll be like probably the 5th or 6th person to use it.
That is so cool. I feel like DAOs very soon it's going to become easier to build a DAO than to start a traditional centralized business. And they're gonna have all these tools you can get out of the box. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah.
All right. So Lauren, excited to see this comms article, and I know you will continue working on that for this sprint cycle. Mitch, how are the comms documentation? How's that coming along?
Well, I've really just been waiting until we nailed down all this stuff, and then like once we have it solid, like I'll probably formalize just a lot of Lauren's article, and then plug it into the Giveth docs. So we'll talk about the airdrop and then the actual economics separately. But again, like it sounds like a lot of things were still being decided, so I didn't start it.
Cool. So the details that you need finalized is this around like the issuance and the allocation and the airdrop. Are there any specific details that you have in mind that need to be finalized?
No, I'm gonna look through it now. Like now it's more on my radar, so I'm gonna look through it, and then like we can't publish anything until it's there. So we could just have the documentation going in the background, and then as soon as we're feeling good about it, then just upload it to the Giveth docs.
And then if there's any details still missing, let's work those out to put some tokenomics, and we'll make sure that we get clarity on those so that we're unblocked here. And yeah, those will all be good details that we'll need to work out anyways. So it'll be helpful if you spot any stuff that's still not done yet, post tokenomics, and we can make sure to get those details worked out.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet. All right. Roadmap and messaging, key narratives. I think this is still in progress. You guys are working on this blog post and the documentation. We talked a little bit about this at the sprint planning cycle, and we still have some GitHub issues for some of the kind of building blocks to the narrative and stuff that I know comms Forrest is going to review with the comms team on some of these issues that are ready to go to see if we can make some progress. Yeah. Right, are we still working to hire one or two smart contract devs for a long-term commitment?
I haven't seen. Forrest said that she wrote some kind of thing, but she hasn't sent it to me. So I'll ping her and see. But yeah, we need that. We need a good smart contract dev, and we should start looking yesterday.
Totally, it's getting harder and harder every day. Right. Additional goals. We got UI UX, and we kind of covered this earlier. But yeah, this sprint, hopefully we can work on the UI UX for givebacks, as well as the updating the vesting staking front end that DAppNode's put together. Kind of tweaking that to style it like Giveth, and then add the giveback panel. All right, and I think we are right up towards the end of our time here. So yeah, let's just real quick recap these goals. We want to close the airdrop list. I think we got some good next steps there. DAppNode is making great progress on getting the smart contracts audited and being reviewed by native English speakers. There's a blocker that's identified with POA network, and it's the biggest blocker for liquidity mining and just the token launch in general. But this week we should get confirmation that POA is on board with upgrading their contracts, and that seems pretty like a pretty good chance that they'll be on board with that. And so if they do give the approval there, does that extend? No, is this a new thing that we didn't know about before? Does this extend the timeline, or is this still in line with what you think DAppNode could be ready to launch in like 4 or 5 weeks from now?
Yeah, it's one of those things where if they say no, then DAppNode will use. So it's more just we're delaying the decision, but the decision will be made at the end of that time, no matter what. So yeah, because there's multiple bridges we can use, and the bridge that we want to use that's getting audited and all these things has these problems that we want to correct. POA network will totally be down to correct them, and we just need to slide them in before the final audits go through on the bridge. And then, but if they for some reason say no, then we'll just use this other bridge where we can customize the token coming out.
Okay, cool. So whether they say yes or no, it doesn't necessarily impact the overall timeline too much. So you think we're still on track?
If they say no faster, then it might speed it up.
Okay. So would you say still on track for 4 weeks at this point? 5 weeks?
Yeah, 5 weeks. 4 weeks, end of QA, space for extra fixes, and then 5 weeks. 5-week DAppNode launch. I mean, at this point, the only thing I worry about the DAppNode launch is the marketing of it, because they don't have our team on that side.
We're lucky with the comms team for sure. Yeah. Cool. Closing the airdrop list. I think we've said this before, but I think this next sprint cycle, I think we really can get this finally done. We've made a lot of progress each sprint cycle, but it's a big task. I think this is cycle number 6. We'll get this done. All right. Then another goal for this is mockups for givebacks, the givebacks in general. Dev team's going to talk about that at their kickoff today. We got a spec ready, and we're working on the mockups. It's possible that we might be able to start working on some of the functionality during the sprint cycle, but more likely that we have the goal for this sprint cycle to be ready the next development sprint cycle to actually start working on the giveback stuff. I think that's a good goal. And then Lauren and Mitch are working on communications and our blog post and documentation. And comms team is also going to work on the narrative, getting that ready to go. And we're going to work on posting a job description so we can hopefully find some smart contract devs for the long term. All right. Does everyone have a clear? I know it's a little bit impromptu. We kind of threw it together, but I think we got some good notes here and a good idea for sprint number 6. How are you guys feeling? Everyone have clear goals for this next sprint cycle of what to work on?
The only thing we might consider passing on is updating the UX, just because it might be easier to just focus on figuring out what dApp node wants to change and then changing the designs for it after. If we figure out, oh no, these screens don't make any sense or something, then it might be extra work to go change them later, you know? So we might just wait until the QA is done for dApp node.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Any other thoughts on the above goals? Anything anyone thinks is not a realistic goal for this next sprint, or anything else that anyone thinks we should be focusing on during this next sprint cycle?
I just wish Danny were here, because the one thing is the big thing, the last piece for the airdrop is the current contributors. And so, hey, everyone, that means us. So I'll talk to Danny about figuring out what percentage of tokens goes to everyone. And that's going to be like a weird, uncomfortable, fun, awkward conversation. So we'll have to be ready for that, I guess, this sprint.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, that sounds good. I wish, yeah, it's gonna be. I'm glad to get that one done, and I'm grateful for Danny working through that. We're for the UI UX, we're saying we want to wait until dApp node has actually like plugged the front end into the contracts. Is that what you're saying? Because the UI UX is done, right? But we need.
Yeah, but then when we plug it in the contracts and then we start playing with it, maybe we'll be like, oh, this whole thing is a dead end. Why are we working? We don't need this piece. We don't need that piece. Oh, and for Giveth, it might be better if we're a little bit more this way, you know? So instead of just taking the designs as they are right now and running with them, like taking the space to wait for the QA and for us to test it and then figure out how we can improve it after playing with it, that might make more sense for Marco. Then, because if let's say that we do the QA on dApp nodes designs and then we find some changes, well, we'll change that for dApp nodes designs, and then we'll just have to change that also for Giveth designs.
That makes sense. Cool. All right. Any other final thoughts while we're all together, or are we ready to go dive right headfirst into this next sprint? All right. Well, thank you everybody for waking up early to get this done. We're right on track with 1 hour sprint kickoff.
Thanks for taking the lead, Willie.
Yeah, thank you, Willie.
Of course.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.